Good morning and happy Saturday, everyone. It's walk and talk time. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning. Great.
Good morning.
Good
Doing great.
morning.
Morning.
All right. Well, we have a lively group as always. Looking forward to whatever's going to transpire over this next hour or so on our Saturday morning walk and talk. We'll have a lot of different segments. I'm going to do a small little segment on kind of call it, we're kind of a rebel alliance against the galactic empire, if we want to use that metaphor in terms of what we're up against in the program, kind of our life right now. And I'm going to kind of key in on one thing, kind of a question, and that is we might be familiar with the SNAP program. It's a supplemental nutritional assistant program. And the question is what percentage of that money is utilized on sugary sodas and other such beverages? That's an interesting statistic, and I'll be covering that and more. But as we get going, we're going to open up with Bruce and Eileen. They often have a tight schedule on Saturday morning, and we love to hear from them. So Bruce and Eileen, are you there?
Hey, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So everybody, we just stopped walking, so now we're sweating and probably look gross and my glasses are fogging up, just so you know. We're in Florida, it's hot. But what I wanted to share was during this last week, when Bruce and I were walking one morning, I realized suddenly that I feel the best I've ever felt in my whole life. And I'm 63 years old, and I've had some health issues, and yet I feel the best ever. And I did want to share that there was one other time I did a really healthy eating plan, and no sugar, no alcohol, just really clean. And I didn't feel good. And so I was thinking I didn't feel good. And I did it for an extended period, so it should have kicked in to feel good. But I think it's the supplements that I'm taking, the XX, the advanced omega, and I take a few other things like the liver one because I had fatty liver, and vitamin C and so on. But I can only really say that it has to be the healthy lifestyle, the walking, which I did exercise then too. And I think the supplements. So I wanted to share that because it's amazing. And I'm 63 and I feel great.
And you hit your all-time low this week, which was exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I'm getting so close to my goal. I mean, the last 5 pounds are bugging me, but I'll get there.
And what is that total that we're around? I think it's around 70-ish down.
Yes, correct. 70, right around 70. It goes up and down a little, point this, point that, a pound, whatever. But yeah.
Wow, fantastic. And, just a couple of comments. One of the things that I know we talk about a lot internally in the program, certainly when we're coaching, but for those that are maybe learning about this for the first time or kind of new to the program, bear in mind that as you are losing weight, you may want to increase your movement because just like Eileen is mentioning, as she's getting closer and closer to her ultimate weight or ultimate weight loss goal, that it can get a little bit tougher. Now, it mentions this in the HealthPointe program. It mentions this in the daily messages in particular. But if you just think about it, if you are, say, 200 pounds and you lose 20 pounds, that's 10% less weight. So you were, as you're doing your 10,000 steps, 10 to 15,000 steps, you were carrying around 200 pounds. Now you're carrying around 180 pounds. And that gets significant. And if you start dropping 30, 40, 50 pounds, imagine that. Today, sometime pick up, 30 pounds of weight and walk around with it, go up and down the stairs with it and see what that's like. Now, the good news is that's gone. Carol, I remember a hilarious image that you shared once where it was somebody that was, the image was of somebody that walked into a doctor's office and they had a refrigerator strapped onto their back. And I remember that. And he said, "Doctor, I got these terrible knee problems. What do you think? What could be going on? And the doctor says, well, I'm not sure, but let's take an MRI, right? I mean, it's obvious. They're carrying a refrigerator on their back. They've got all this extra weight. So the good news is that we're taking this weight off. It is much better on our joints. It's better on our entire system. But we also have to recognize this is less exertion on a daily basis with walking around because of that. And so sometimes you might, if you lose 10%, you might want to increase your average movement 10%. So if you were getting 10,000 steps in, you might want to average 11,000. So you need to kind of compensate for that. So, but congratulations, and very valid point on the supplementation. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on that, but wow, there's a lot we could say about that. HealthPointe is HealthPointe. It's not Diet Point. We're talking about health, and it's about fueling our cells. And the supplementation is a very, very big part about that. Anybody else want to comment on that?
I have one quick comment, because it was actually last night. We were having dinner with, you all know her as Nancy Dorn and Nancy and John. And of course, you know, health is always the top topic. And one of the things that she mentioned just off the cuff, I felt this, but I've never actually heard it said. And that is, if you're on statin drugs, that you must take coenzyme Q10. And it's interesting because we have a new set of clients, husband and wife team, and he's got some heart situations. So we added the CoQ10 into his XX and omegas. Of course, the omegas are extremely good for your heart, also the EPA. But the coenzyme, what happens when you take statin drugs is it eats that out of your system, and that is one of the most important nutrients for a healthy heart. So if you know anybody that's on statin drugs, first of all, I'm sure they're all trying to, you know, diminish them or reduce them with the work of their doctor. But in the meantime, the CoQ10, make sure that they're supplementing with that.
That's a very good point. And, you know, there's a number of similar situations out there. One of them that comes to mind, because it is a pretty pervasive drug, and that's metformin. And similarly to what Carol is talking about with the CoQ10 and statins, same thing with metformin and its degradation of vitamin B. So this is something that is often not covered, at least in my conversations with people that are like, yeah, my doctor, you know, has me on a metformin. Any conversations about, you know, vitamin B degradation and supplementing with vitamin D? Nope, nothing on that. So it's definitely, you know, buyer beware on that, and kind of educate yourself on that. But
is that
overall,
vitamin D as in dog?
I'm sorry,
D?
vitamin B, B as in boy. Vitamin B as in boy. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So there are, you know, I would say kind of holistically, big picture, any type of pharmaceutical that someone takes, look into any kind of, you know, of course, you know, side effects, but also kind of anything that's kind of got a down regulator, kind of an inhibitor of the methylation process, or any of the you know, anything that you want to be optimized. And particularly if it's easily solved, you know, if you're going to stay on a metformin, hey, that's pretty easily solved with a supplementation. If you're going to stay on a statin, then, you know, be considering the CoQ10. All of this always with, you know, concert and communication with your primary care physician and so forth. But usually it just takes an initial awareness on the patient's part, on the client's part, to look into this type of stuff, and then be able to have these conversations and so forth.
Eric, can I share one thing on that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
My cardiologist, you know, I had a heart attack in my 40s, and my cardiologist said, if you take one supplement, take CoQ10. That's the most essential on a statin. So I just wanted to like reconfirm that with the doctor, that my doctor said that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I take a CoQ10, and you know what I enjoy the most about CoQ10 is that it's very clear color. You guys can know what I'm talking about, right? It's black. And you know, as we're prepping our week and putting our supplements into the supplement tray, horrors of all horrors, if you spill some of them and they go all over the place, it's like, oh my gosh, these are all beige and earth tone and so forth. Is this, you know, do I have 3 vitamin C's in here, or is that a whatever? Is that a
calcium mag?
Yeah, is that a cal mag there? Is it, what is the one? Oh, glucosamine, the glucosamine. God darn it, make that thing purple, will you? I mean,
put a band around it or something.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it can induce a panic if you ever spill that stuff onto the counter. You know, it's like you know, pixie sticks, you know, trying to sort them out. But that CoQ10, there's no doubt in where those buggers are. Those stand out like a bright light. Those little black CoQ10s. Love them. For that reason alone, I will take my CoQ10 just to maintain my sanity when I'm setting up my weekly supplementation tray. So
well, you know what the ultimate visual acuity test is, don't you? You know, that's your peripheral vision, what have you, is drop your vitamins all over the kitchen floor. Now our kitchen floor is beige and every one of them blends in, and one beige and it's got a little roughness to it. So and I will tell you something, I can spot something across the room. It is amazing. And I think, okay, I think I'll pass the next visual acuity test. I can find my vitamins on the floor.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny that you mentioned that, because literally yesterday in the morning, I was talking with my dad on the phone. So I was a little bit multitasking, maybe a little distracted. And I'm getting into my supplements, and out pops one of the advanced omegas onto the floor. And we have a tile floor in that area, in that kitchen. And so it kind of blended in, and I'm like, Dad, stop. I gotta stop. I gotta look around, because I knew any moment Veda, our little Basenji, was, you know, she could hear that like across the room. That could have been 100 yards away, and she's going to hear something hit the floor, and she's going to come in and start vacuuming up, you know, with her nose around. And not that the omega, actually, I give our 2 dogs some omega, but I didn't want her swallowing a whole one.
Yeah, that's pretty big honkers.
yeah, exactly. So,
well,
anyhow,
talking about the omegas, I'll just jump in, because again, in my work with young children, the difference that omegas make in their behavior and attitude. But when you get in our program and you start taking double X and the omegas are starting to heal your brain, which is the mainframe, Erica. And so then that allows everything else to kind of flow a little bit better once you kind of get your brain in a better place. So the being on double X and the omegas in HealthPointe is like huge.
Yeah.
I will I'll chime in really quick. Sorry if it's a little loud. I'm on my
I thought that was a pretty good
basement.
softball setup.
Yes, it was great. My son actually loves taking the omegas because they look like, you know, little gems, gold gems. And so the other day I also give him a few other things like saffron, and I do give him the phytonutrient from double X, and he swallows it and loves it. And the other day he goes, Mama, you forgot my fish oil. So yeah, you know, we have some genetic history with ADD, and omegas can really help with focus. So super excited that he's on board. He sees me taking my supplements, and yeah. So anyways, just wanted to hop on and say that.
That is awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Nice coverage, and so cool. In fact, I'm going to address, you know, to a certain extent, you know, the the youth, the kids, and what they're facing these days. And so awesome that your son Erica is. I remember that message you left, that he is like, kind of tugging on your shirt sleeve saying, "Mama, where's my fish oil?" Wow, let's get all the kids saying that, right? That would be great.
Dan, just piggybacking on that quickly, my grandson was like, attention deficit. He was a boy. He was just active. I got to know the assistant principals. We were on a first name basis, type experience. And he would take the omegas, and he called them his happy pills. Because he must have felt the change within him, where he was a little bit more, his body was kind of erratic. And when he would take those, it would straighten him out for a little bit. Not, again, he's a boy, he was active, but it did make a difference.
Yes.
Especially, so we intentionally really made sure you had them like before a test. I'm really big on having the right supplements before sporting events, because you want your brain, you need to, and in sports, you want to anticipate. So you need to have your brain working to be able to play sports effectively. Big part of sports is not just your body, it's how your brain and anticipation. Anyways.
Absolutely.
Happy pills.
Happy pills. Yes, absolutely. Imagine somebody going into either something where they have to maintain a strong focus in sports, or if they're going into, major exam or test or quiz, if the difference between, being, jacked up on sugar going into that versus, having a healthy omegas and so forth is unbelievable. Well,
Nancy was sharing last night about Ashley Kate. Now, Ashley Kate is a grown woman now, but when she was little, they would give her the omegas. And of course, little children, well, I don't know about Rehan, but most little children, does he chew them or does he swallow them?
He swallows them.
Oh,
I don't know. Them. Yeah, swallows them, and sometimes he doesn't even take water. I'm like, Rehan, you gotta use water, lots and lots of water. I don't know how he does it. He just pops them back, throws them back.
Well, Ashley Kate was actually chewing them, and so she would say, Nana, I think she called Nancy, I don't want this, and she would pull out the shell, the gelatin shell. And all the omega was inside. So all the fish oil that we all stick our nose up at, that was in her system, and she didn't have any problem with that. She just didn't like the texture of the shell that was encapsulating it. So we thought that was kind of fun.
But... Hardcore Ashley. Yeah. Ashley Kate. Yeah. Jeez, that's amazing. Phenomenal. Well, hey, kind of segueing from Erica's little debut here, someone that she's coaching, and I believe it is going to have a segment on our program, a little dialogue with myself, and that's Carolyn. Carolyn, if you're there, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. Yeah, hi.
Well, we're so happy to have you and see your smiling face. And so first of all, for those that don't know you, maybe tell us, approximately when you started HealthPointe, how things are going right now, and any kind of comments on that front.
Sure. I mean, I'm part of your HealthPointe family, but I've not met anyone. And I have to say, but I feel so connected. And I realized that Thursday night when Carolyn, Hank, and then David and Erica spoke and did such a great job. And, I just felt like their family.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, which is great. Love the community around HealthPointe. Love this group. And I live in the Detroit area. I've lived here since September, and my neighbor is Erica, my neighbor to the south. And so, boy, lucky, a wonderful, amazing neighbor, and now friend, and now HealthPointe coach. So And then, I got even lucky, I got lucky again with Eric. So, and just everybody that Eric has connected to, like this particular group. So, started the HealthPointe program in April. I'm into my second weight loss round. I'm down roughly 25 pounds. So I'm a little more than, yeah, yes. And I feel great. I kind of have to pinch myself every day because I feel great. And I feel, mentally more focused. There's not a lot of movement in my job right now. I write proposals for bioanalytical clinical trials. So I am sitting most of the day and I feel good. I'm still kind of working out my routines, walking in the morning and midday, and then again in the evening, getting to know some neighbors because I'm out and about. I met Jennifer, Erica, behind us last night. She's so nice. She moved to town to take care of her uncle. But anyway, it's there are just so many secondary benefits to doing HealthPointe too. So yeah, let's see. I've got a couple notes here. So I've got the bonus of community and an amazing coach. I'm in my second cycle. I had an experience last week. I have I've had this thyroid situation for like 30 years. And so I have this great endocrinologist, went to see him. I get blood work drawn every 3 months. And he kind of fell on the floor when I walked in. I didn't say anything. And this reminds me of what Eileen has said a couple times, which is, it feels so good when people notice that you lost weight and comment on it. So he was blown away and gave me a big hug that I had lost weight. He told me to cut my meds in half, just all the indicators, kind of my hands weren't shaking, my ankles weren't swollen, the nodules on my thyroid are, still there for sure. They've been there for 30 years, but I think that they're being impacted by the program. We're going to measure them next time in 3 months. And so, kind of the symptoms around what's going on with my thyroid, they're all diminishing. And so now I'm doing I'm like half my medication. Well, that's a good idea. And then I thought, I've heard that before somewhere. Oh yeah, I heard it in the walk and talk, Yeah. So some of my HealthPointe compadres are also cutting their meds in half. So that's, so anyway, it's a great thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I also, I love the community. I love the platform and the structure. For me, super helpful. I'm chasing Eileen. I'm 63 also. So I can't wait till I'm down 70. I'm not there. But she'll be my inspiration. And I have 4 adult children in this area and a couple of grandkids too. So I was at T-ball opening day last week and chased my 3-year-old. Well, I ran with him. I didn't chase him. I ran with him to the porta potty. Because when he says, Nana, I gotta go, I'm okay, let's go. So, I haven't done much running in the last several years. So, and it was manageable and I wasn't completely out of breath. So, anyway, that's kind of my story. I started as an IBO here in the last week or two.
Yeah.
Yay, welcome.
Yeah. So those of you that are just your first meeting and exposure to Carolyn, I think for any other facilitators, coaches out there, you're probably just busting from the seams, just going, oh my gosh, this person needs to be helping others, needs to be a facilitator, needs to be a coach, right? Because that's what Erica's had the great fortune of, I've had the great fortune of, is experiencing a lot of what everyone's now learning about Carolyn, and just through and through, from her own, following of the program, her own getting the results of the program, her communication, her heart, her outlook. You're just going, my gosh, you're an asset to this community. And so we chatted about that. And so you became a independent business owner recently. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. And I believe actually, you're a client of yours, Meg, is on Walk and Talk today, I believe so. So, but maybe you
Yes,
can just speak to, hey, good morning, Meg.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome, Meg.
Hi, I'm
Yay.
just learning all the bells and whistles. And so that's why I've been quiet and just taking it all in. I'm glad to be here. And Carolyn, you look great. Thanks for everything.
Yeah. So yeah, welcome, Meg. And so great to have you on here. And so Carolyn, you were saying?
Yeah, Meg's an inspiration to me too, because she's so curious. And I think like we met many, decades ago when we were affiliated with the newspaper, and she's just curious and asks questions, which reminds me of me. I'm kind of known for the clarifying questions. Eric and Erica can tell you, I ask lots of questions. So yeah, I have never really, I say I've not done sales, but then people who know me will say, oh yeah, yes, you do. Well, and I have worked as an art director and sold artwork because I'm passionate about it and because I'm telling the story of the artists and the process and the artwork. So this IBO thing, I was totally not sure about it, but now that I'm on board and really having such a great experience with HealthPointe, I don't really think of it as sales. I think of it as a shared experience. And, and so if somebody's curious about it, I enjoy a positive team and that kind of connection. And, yeah, I think I naturally, I'm a cheerleader.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
and also because, Amway and 21 are waiving fees right now for the IBOs. And if I can't get a hold of a plane ticket and get to Atlanta, at least I can virtually get there. I mean, it's just amazing. And Eric and Erica shared a lot of informational audios with me early on, and I'm addicted. I binge often. So, and it's great. It's so great. So all of that, the potential for me to continue to learn and to share and to grow and then make an informed decision based on my experience in January 2025 if I want to keep going, which, I've kind of already made that decision.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'll have more experience. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned about the audios, because I want to kind of unpack that a little bit, inform people a little bit if they're not aware of some of the details. So a couple of things that you mentioned there. So normally if someone that's a client wants to take part in becoming a coach, a facilitator, and so forth, there's a fee with that. Okay. You're starting a business with a big corporation, Amway Corporation. Your independent business owner relationship is with the Amway Corporation. And it's natural. And we often joke about that fact that, it's not $5,000. We kind of wish it was, because, people might, treat it like a $5,000 or a $50,000 investment, but it was, relatively minor, low hundreds of dollars. But they recently announced a, FCY, first contract year waiving of the startup fees. And then in addition to that, to be in concert with that, unbelievable, Network 21, which those that aren't familiar with Network 21, they're our training organization based out of Atlanta, Georgia. They are responsible for the mobile apps, the HealthPointe mobile apps, the educational mobile apps. They have reams and reams of audios, the intellectual property of this business that we have access to. And what they decided to do is also make it complimentary during FCY. So to kind of come alongside Amway Corporation and offer that educational platform, the mobile app, for free. And that's what you're alluding to. And one of the things that Erica and I chatted with, because one of the things, a data point that you look for is, okay, if somebody's doing the program, are they, doing well? Are they following the program? Are they getting the results? That's kind of part and parcel to being a good facilitator, is you walk the walk, right? You don't just talk about it. You don't just theorize about it, but you do it, and you learn, and you go through your own ups and downs. Then another data point is, are they a learner? Do they like to learn? Do they embrace that neuroplasticity? Do they like to tap in specifically to the audios? So they're shareable audios. Erica's sharing audios over to you. I would share some audios over to you. And we can see, is this something that the recipient listened to? Okay. And in your case, absolutely. And consistently. And we chatted, Erica and I chatted about that. And I said, boy, I think, she said as well, Carolyn would be a really good coach, and she loves to learn. So now you have access to that audio platform. It's kind of a metered down version of the full version, but it's free. And tell us a bit about, just roughly speaking, how you're enjoying those audios. And I know oftentimes you give reports, you're out walking and you're listening to Jim Dornan, or you're out walking and you're listening to so-and-so. So tell us a bit about that, and what value it's been to you.
Oh, just, well, part of it is, part of what I love about HealthPointe and this group is that I can just show up as me. I don't, a lot of times, I'll stress out before a meeting, and I want to make sure I'm prepped and I've got my notes, or, I worked for an opera company long ago, so I would rehearse 8 hours a day. Well, I don't do that. I just listen. I just listen in, and I can listen to anyone, and oftentimes be walking through the park, laughing, or I'm in my house having a conversation with whoever's presenting because it's kind of relatable. And parts of it are kind of in the beginning, which wasn't that long ago, are, kind of unbelievable. So, a lot of the concepts are very basic, but like you say, you can theorize about things all day long, but actually doing it and experiencing it is really profound. And that's been the case for me. And when speakers talk about simple, basic principles of, honesty, commitment, Eileen has talked on our walk and talks about the benefits and what we get to do, what we get to eat, the steps that, that it's a privilege, and it's something we look forward to. It's not punitive. It's not a punitive thing. And so sharing, when leadership in those audios, they're telling stories about sharing the program, and some of them have, some amazing lifestyles, and they're not, I don't want to worry about money, and that's part of the reason why I thought I'm going to give this IBO, a listen. They're not, maybe they're worried about how they're going to make the world a better place with all the money that they have piles of money that they have sitting around. But, they're all very down to earth. They're all very relatable. And so if you look from outside, it's kind of that's not attainable. But then when they start telling their stories are very relatable, about how they've built their business, about how they relate to people. And, it really is based on people. It's not, which is good, because I don't have that background or that mindset. I don't have an MBA. So in terms of, I've worked a little with inventory with artwork, but, my connection is heart to heart with people. And I relate heavily to almost everybody who's telling a story on those audios. And, and I love it. And I can listen over and over again, which is, maybe everybody's not wired like that, but it's helpful to me. I don't have to take notes. I can walk and listen. I can choose any audio, and there's so far been value for everyone. And I've been, I've had access for a couple of weeks now. So it's a great experience, and I'll pick a story and share next time. There are so many, and of course, none of mind right now.
Well, I'll share something that's so funny that it's not uncommon for a coach or facilitator to share an audio over or share a screenshot and say, "Oh my gosh, I love this audio." Carolyn reverses that. I'm sure Erica receives screenshots. She sent the one the other day of Basil Harris, and I, full transparency, had not yet listened to that one. And I was like, good grief, I got to hurry up and catch up to the person I'm supposed to be leading, right? But I listened to it, and I saw why you enjoyed it so much. He just hit on so many of the fundamentals. Erica, I know you chimed in as well on one recently. It just, sometimes you just, they're like, you look around, you're like, are they talking directly to me? Because how do they know what my weak points are? Why? Because they experience it themselves. That's the magic of this, and that's why you're positioned to be a great coach. You will be a great coach. We're thrilled to have you on the team and working. And statistically, there's over 100 million Americans that are metabolically unhealthy, pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetic. So if we're making a dent in that population base, it's not going to be, just, myself or Carol or anybody. It takes an army of, well-educated, informed, practitioners that have their own sphere of influence. And we appreciate you coming on board and helping yourself by helping others. So
Awesome.
super great. Well, thanks. I'm hoping this will not be your last time that you'll be on the program here. We love having you on, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. So happy to be here.
All right. So I'm going to move on and do a brief segment. I almost hesitate to do this because I just want to keep going around the horn and also kind of get some more feedback on, Carolyn, some of Carolyn's comments there, which I'm sure there's a lot, but I did kind of cue it up at the beginning, talking about, what percentage of the SNAP program goes towards sugary beverages. So I feel like I have to answer that. Would that be the ultimate cliffhanger, to start a program with a question and then not answer it? So let me just take the liberty, as I often do, of just kind of reading something that put together here. And it's in that vein, we're going to answer that question. But this is really, as I mentioned, a bit more of a realization that those of us in the HealthPointe community, those of us that are not just doing it for ourselves, but trying to help others that want to help as well, this really is, if you're a Star Wars fan, this is like, the Rebel Alliance against a galactic empire. And, I would say embrace that. It's reality. And there's a lot of galactic empire forces out there that are pushing against us, that are headwinds. And by the way, they're not all bad. I mean, even Darth Vader had his, good points, right? That you learn later. No risk of doing a spoiler alert if you haven't watched or if you don't know what the Star Wars series is. It's long ago. But here's what I'd like to go through. So imagine a world where the odds are stacked against us, a world where the small, everyday person is pitted against colossal forces with immense power and influence. Today, we find ourselves in such a world, standing up against the giants of big pharma, big food, and big media. These behemoths wield enormous influence over our health, our food choices, and the information we consume. They shape our lives in ways that often serve their interests more than ours. But like the classic underdog, we have the power to challenge and reclaim control. Take, for example, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP, designed to help low-income families put food on the table. It sounds noble in theory, but in practice, it can often be quite the paradox. And by the way, I want to say often, this is not to demonize SNAP, it's or even big pharma or big media or big food. It's just to point out that there sometimes is a misalignment of vested interests. So I want to be clear on that. So again, take, for example, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP, designed to help low-income families put food on the table. It sounds noble in theory, but in practice, it's quite the paradox. Did you know that 10% of SNAP dollars are spent on sugary beverages like soda pop? That's billions of dollars funneled into products that contribute to the very health issues SNAP aims to alleviate. That's the point. That's the point that needs to be made there. This is not just an isolated issue. Our children's minds are being targeted as well. 30 or 40 years ago, kids could sing along to the cheerful jingles of cartoons like the Flintstones or Gilligan's Islands. Carolyn, I know we talked about Gilligan's Islands a little bit here, or the Gilligan's Island theme song. Today, however, they can just as easily recite the catchy jingles of pharmaceutical ads. The melodies of drugs like Jardiance and others have become embedded in their minds, a testament to the pervasive reach of big pharma and big media. These industries have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, promoting products that have not always had our best interests at heart. But just like the heroic underdog in every great story, we have the power to turn the tide. We must first recognize the battle we are in. Awareness is our slingshot. Knowledge is our stones. By understanding the influence of these giants, we can make informed choices and advocate for policies that promote genuine health and well-being. Support local farmers and businesses. Choose whole and nutritious foods over processed options, and officially evaluate the information presented to us by media and pharmaceutical advertisements. By doing so, we chip away at the foundation of these giants' power. In this modern day epic, we may be the underdogs, but we are not powerless. Together, we can challenge the might of big pharma, big food, and big media, and create a healthier, more informed society. Remember, it's a small but mighty who can change the world. So that is, in short, an answer to the provocative question of what percentage of SNAP dollars goes towards sugary beverages. And then on a broader picture, kind of just recognizing and recognizing the headwinds that we have and embracing that. Don't let that be a headwind. Let it be fuel for your fire, and embrace it and own it, is what I would say. So that's my little segment on that. Continuing around the horn, I'm going to go to Carol, if you're there.
I am. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I muted myself for a bit there and then just want to make sure. Well, 1,000 million ideas have gone through my head since listening to Carolyn and listening to you, Eric. And Carolyn, you made a one-liner that you don't realize, guys, especially you new folks, how important the things you say are to other people that will be listening to this audio, maybe new people that are not on the walk and talk yet. And you said, I ran after my grandchild to the bathroom and I could do it. And that's after not being on the program for years, just a couple of months. And the difference it made, well, it makes me think of a client of Eileen's, and I think Eileen she'll listen to this later, but I think they had to get off. But she was telling me about a client the other day, and they're junk food people, and the family is their whole family, not Eileen, this client, and how she just wants to eat anything she wants because she wants to do that with her grandson. And I thought, well, why don't we put a spin on that and say, instead of eating anything I want, how about if I teach my grandson to eat healthy so that he'll slide those omegas down like Erica's son Rehan does, and put a spin on it again the other way to create to change the whole culture in a family. And it is a family culture. And unfortunately, this is what many people are dealing with, is family cultures, not just their own desire to change, but then they've got this hit the ball and drag Charlie family that they've got to drag along and kind of convince that they're not kooks, that they're doing a healthy living program. So anyway, Carolyn, I just wanted to say how important that was. And Eric, your thing about the sugary foods and the SNAP program, I thought was really insightful. And it's interesting because, and I listen to so many podcasts and read so many emails, and I'm on this episode and that episode, and I forget where I learned these things because usually I'm walking when I'm doing it. But it was about sugar, and it was not going back. I've gone back way back to the prehistoric days, and why we have a sweet tooth to begin with, because back then fruit was a safe food. It wasn't a poisonous food. And so the caveman went for fruit because it was a safe food. And then he developed that sweet taste. And then, of course, that has emerged over the years into something that now we're fighting as an evil situation, not a survival situation. But anyway, this, whatever I was listening to talked about, and I'm not going to use any names here, but a major tobacco company back in the 80s, when people were starting to become aware how important it was to stop smoking and how detrimental cigarette smoke was to you and your lungs and your family and what have you. And cigarette sales dropped drastically. And so the tobacco company had to, as companies do, mega companies, they had to kind of say, okay, where are we going from here? And so they said, well, what made people addicted to tobacco, to our cigarettes? Well, let's take that same concept now, but we'll make a new addiction. And that addiction was sugar. And sugar and those types of things, if you heard Nancy Morton's audio, says that that's more addictive than smoking and drinking. And so they took sugar and they went and bought 3 major companies, cereal companies, fruit drink companies, the overall company, not the sub companies that came out of them. They bought these and then they started working on sugar. And one of the first things they worked on was a sugary drink called Hawaiian Punch. And that's what got kids addicted to drinking sugary drinks. And of course, you know, it's evolved over and over and over again. I'm getting some static. Is that my phone?
Let me see if I can take care of that. Okay.
Anyway, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't my phone. Maybe I was in a bad spot. But anyway, all that being said, that then from there, they, continued infiltrating and working with the children instead of going with the adults with smoking. And now they got with the children because they said, if we can get with the children and these sugary drinks, that is going to create a whole cadre of repeat business, not only in the products that they're consuming, but also the ill effects of the products later on, leading to medications and situations like that. So they see that companies see this as a driving machine of the economy, of their economy. And unfortunately, they don't consider what it's doing to the human individual. And that's why Hank always says, be your own best doctor. And let food be your medicine and medicine your food, and select the things that are correct and right, as we teach in HealthPointe. Because when you teach your children, now we got to unteach our children. 70+% of the food in a market, in a regular food store, is processed packaged foods. Only 30% is the peripheral, and the peripheral is where we need to be shopping, because that's where your real food is. The others, all processed food that contains ingredients that we don't know. So one of the things that I love so much about the HealthPointe program, and I keep going back to that, gentlemen, this is a football, but I just love the fact that it's such a basic program, and it's a program based on a real basic eating plan. There's no plastic foods in this plan. It's eating a carb and a protein, a natural carb and a protein for breakfast, lettuce, fruits, vegetables, and protein for lunch and dinner. I mean, that is basic. That is a basic healthy habit. And when you get these habits, they just never leave you. And I came across a book. It was actually written in 2007, but then it was a redo of it in 2017, a revisit to the book. And it's by Dr. Johnny Bowden, Bowden. And it's called 150 Healthiest Foods. This is a wonderful elementary book because it's got gorgeous pictures of healthy foods and why they're healthy, and foods that maybe aren't so healthy, not even processed foods, but foods that maybe aren't so healthy or maybe are on the lower spectrum of your healthy food eating. And I love this book, and I went back to it, and I actually just did a Kindle on the updated one because it just shows the foods that you want to be going for. Now, I do say this with a disclaimer. If you are on the menu plan and add more food days, you want to make sure that they're on your food list in your user guide. Because if they're not on the list, my feeling, and I still say this, I don't tinker around with the program with my clients. If it's not on the list, don't eat it. It's just as simple as that. If you just do that, then you don't have to sit there and decide, well, can I do this? Can I do that? It's just, okay, go look on the food list. No, it's not on the food list. All right, I'm not eating it. Or I'm going to at least get with my coach and find out why. And your coach will usually tell you, why is raisins not on? Because raisins are very high. Well, no, raisins are on, but they're like 10 raisins. So, why so small? Well, because raisins are loaded with sugar. They're a great food, just not while you're trying to lose weight. So all of that, so that little thing of the eating plan is so important. And I was reading a book on amino acids and perfect protein, and it talked about what are the highest absorptions of proteins. And I thought it was very interesting because the lowest one was spirulina, which is a green food that a lot of vegetarians and vegans like, but it's got a very low, I think only 6% absorption of protein in your body when you ingest it. Then you go to egg whites. And of course, for a while there, everybody's eating egg whites, take the yolk out because that's got fat in it and all this stuff. And that's only got 17% egg whites. Then you go to dairy, it's only got 16%, soy only 17%. So that means when you eat it, that only 17% of that, or 16 or whatever, actually gets absorbed into usable protein. Then it goes up into meat, fish, and fowl. And isn't that what we have for our breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or at least lunch and dinner? That climbs up to 32%. And then you get up to whole eggs. And we are big proponents on, hey, have hard-boiled eggs in your refrigerator. Use them as snacks. Put them on for your source of protein on a salad for lunch. Whole eggs are really good for you. That's 48%. And then the last one was breast milk, which obviously all of us are not going to be affiliated with. And that's 49%, only 1% more than whole eggs. And then it talks about amino acids. And then that is in our muscle multiplier. That is what our muscle multiplier is. And I'm not going to go into muscle multiplier, but the amino acids actually break the protein down and put it together in usable forms to go to the specific spots in your body that need to have protein and nutrition in them. And so a lot of times we think of amino acids as just muscle, building muscle, but it's so much more. It's so important for your heart, which is a muscle. It's so important for your brain because it's a neurotransmitter. It's so important for your bones. It builds bones. There's so many things that your amino acids do when you're having complete amino acids. And so one of the things that I like to encourage people when they're on their program, maybe as they get on into the program, is to add in muscle multiplier into their regime. And one of the things, and I'll end with this, one of the things that's very important, and I don't think it specifies it real clearly on the Amway site, is that if you are going to have your muscle multiplier, have it 20 minutes before or 20 minutes after ingesting any other form of protein. And here's why. Protein goes to your digestive tract. It is broken down there, and then that's when it is sent to different spots to be utilized. Amino acids go direct to your bloodstream. I call it mainlining. It goes direct into your bloodstream and immediately activates, immediately. So that as the proteins are broken down, those amino acids will put them together, like it was said the other night on a training, and I love this because I'm a very simplistic person. If you were to make a word, you'd have, let's say the word home, H-O-M-E, okay. H would be for one amino acid, O would be for another, M would be for another amino acid, and E would be for another. And what amino acids do is they put these things together in word form, but in a scientific way, to go to the specific spot in your body that it needs to be taken care of. And that's where your amino, that particular little package will go to. And so, not to get technical, but to just say that we have such a great program. Every single one of these things and everything that I think Carolyn and Eileen both really brought out today, community, coaching, it never felt so good in my life because it's the supplements and the eating program. All of these things are what HealthPointe is. And so with all of the wonderful but stuff that's thrown at us on the internet, and all of these different podcasts are all very, very wonderful and very informative. But you don't need to go and be a studier or a scholar and all of that. All you need to do is stay simply to the HealthPointe program, work closely with your coach, do each of the steps every single day, take your sheets, however you do it digitally, or whether you do something that Eric put together or Eileen put together, whatever, check them off every day. And through your consistency, you will have a tremendous healthy lifestyle. You'll lose weight. I believe your medications, with the help of your doctor, can be either brought down or eliminated, and you will have many, many, many years of quality living to your life. It's one thing about getting to be 80 and 90. It's a whole different thing about doing it healthily, feeling great, and not being in pain. So with that, Eric, I'm going to turn that back over to you. And everybody make some healthy choices, especially over the 45.
Holy mackerel,
I have a quick question.
Carol. Yes.
My quick question is my summary statement of what I heard, and I just want to know if I've heard this correctly, that amino acids break proteins down so it increases absorption. Is that correct?
It breaks them down and puts them together properly so they can get out and do the things that they're supposed to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the important thing is that the absorption rate of the amino acids is immediate and it is total, where these others have to be broken down, and a lot of that is lost in waste and gone to different parts of your body and digested in different ways. Go ahead, Eric.
I'd like to mention one quick thing. We're talking about the essential amino acid. Our system needs about 20-some amino acids, but there are 9 of them that are essential that our bodies don't produce. That's why what's in the product that Carol is talking about, okay, our muscle multiplier, those are the 9 essential amino acids that our bodies don't produce. Just a thought on that.
And to utilize it, it must be complete.
Right. Boy, these are incredibly valuable points that are being made here. Foundation by you, Carol. David, your follow-up question, same kind of a question I was having, and then Hank, even further clarification on that. I don't know if you can see it, but there's smoke coming out the bottom of my pen from jotting down so many notes. It's one thing posting this. I have the great benefit and luxury of being able to actually write down some of this stuff. But the fact of the matter is I'm going to, like all of us, have the luxury of being able to review this because it's going up on YouTube, and we'll be able to listen to it again and again. I just gotta say, on that segment that you covered there on the muscle multiplier and the essential amino acids, Carol, I have done a fair amount of training on that, and I can't tell you how many times I hear, take it, have that window of 20 minutes outside of taking another type of a protein. Maybe it's been explained why, but you nailed it in terms of the way my brain works, and I think a lot of people's brain work. First of all, calling it mainlining, I love that. And then it's very clear, one's going through the digestive tract, the other one's going into the bloodstream. Okay. And so that totally clarifies it for me with that one statement there. Holy cow. So yeah, and I too, in my recommended bundle for people starting on HealthPointe, will by default include the muscle multiplier amino acids as well. It's a unique product, unique in the marketplace. It's unique in terms of its specific formulation, and very, very valuable to the process. Some people get it later as they were moving through their 6-week cycles, but great if they can start right out of the gate. Well, we are coming up on a wrap here. Everybody that wants to say see you later can certainly unmute, but is there any other quick comments before we put a wrap on things here? Anybody? David, we haven't done our Bueller in a while. Bueller. Love it. All right, guys. Well, we have done it again. We have just had an extraordinary 1-hour session this morning on Saturday. Thank you so much to everyone. Special shout out to I just love the new people, right? That's what it makes it particularly exciting. Not to take anything away from myself or Carol or Hank or any of the newer people, David. But Carolyn, great segment. Meg, thanks for popping on here. And that was awesome. And so for everybody, we'll look forward to next Saturday, same time, same place. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
Enjoy, everybody. Have a good week.
Adios.
Everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Everybody have a great
weekend.
week.
Get those steps in.